Hello everybody, welcome back to Chinese Zero to Hero. This is John. Nice to see you guys again. So as you know, I teach Chinese at this online school called Chinese Zero to Hero, and recently we've produced a series of courses to help students progress from 0 up to HSK 5 and 6. However, recently we've encountered an issue where HSK 5 and 6 students find it very difficult to progress because of the sheer number of vocabulary words that they have to master. And I do feel for them because right now I'm learning Korean as well, and I know that overcoming the mountain of vocabulary, so to speak, it's very difficult. So in attempt to remediate that problem, I'm trying to create a series of courses called the Path to Fluency, which gives learners the strategies and methods to help them to overcome that. Oh, hi. Hi, Jonathan. To overcome that mountain of vocabulary. So in this video, I'd like to talk a little bit about acquisition and learning. And this series of live sessions will be uploaded to YouTube, will be available for replay. And through these series of live sessions like this one, I will try and gather some input from you guys so that I can continue to refine my methodology. And I hope to release the Path to Fluency course by mid-July to mid-August. The reason why it's taking so long is because it's going to take significant amount of research. This is going to be very different from the other Chinese Zero to Hero courses that we have released. It's not just going to go over grammar point by grammar point by grammar point. It's going to teach you, oh hi Ali. So it's going to teach you the strategies that you can employ to be really fluent. Okay. This is the first video that I'm doing this way to gather some feedback from you guys. And at the same time, I'm learning Korean. I'm learning Korean. I'm trying to be fluent in Korean so that I can prove to you that my methodology actually works. Because my Korean is about the same as HSK 5, around the same level as HSK 5. So if I can bring my Korean up to my English level, I can be confident that these methodology work. And to improve my Korean will take some time. I hope by mid-July to August, I will be speaking Korean more or less at the same level of my English, which is a little bit challenging, but I'll try. 你问什么主题啊？主题就是怎么去让 HSK 5和6的学生更流利的说中文啊，怎样让他们能够更好的进步。So back to the main point. So this video, we want to talk about acquisition versus learning. So what's acquisition? Well, in Dr. Stephen Krashen's book, Second Language Acquisition and Second Language Learning, this is a book published in 1981. He proposed to differentiate acquisition, language acquisition and learning. An example of language acquisition is, for example, if you hear an English sentence, for example, if you hear my English, if you're a native English speaker, sometimes you can tell that my grammar is not 100% correct. When you hear an incorrect English sentence, as a native speaker, if you're a native speaker, your ear will tell you, hey, something is off, something is not correct. Something is not entirely grammar, but you might not know exactly what grammar rule is broken, but you just know that something is off. And why is that? Well, that's because you have naturally acquired English language. You have naturally acquired the language. You haven't studied any grammar rules, but you just know that something is wrong because your ear is trained, because you acquired the language, or you've picked up the language. As opposed to acquisition, learning means explicitly learning grammar rules, like learning how subject and verb works, and learning how verb conjugation works, learning how the tenses work in English, for example, right? So that's explicit conscious learning versus subconscious acquisition. So acquisition and learning, so two concepts. the main point I want to make is that at HSK 5 and 6, at these levels, we should predominantly focus on acquisition instead of learning. I repeat, we should focus predominantly on acquisition, that is picking up a language naturally, and not learning, that which is focusing on grammar and vocabulary, and etc. What do I mean by that? Well, consider some activities that we can engage for acquisition. Let's consider some acquisition activities. These activities include, for example, reading a Chinese novel, looking up all the words and read a Chinese novel, read Chinese newspaper, watch a Chinese movie, watch a YouTube video that's intended for Chinese audiences, and looking up the words in the subtitles, and listen to a Chinese podcast, for example, and try and understand everything that they say, and listen to a university lecture that's given in Chinese, and sometimes there are lectures on the internet that's in Chinese and that's teaching a particular subject, for example, Chinese history or Chinese archaeology, or these subjects, or having a Chinese conversation with a Chinese tutor, having a conversation that's entirely in Chinese. That's also a way of acquiring the language. So these all contribute to what Dr. Stephen Krashen calls comprehensible input, which means when you listen to a message and you understand it, right? You listen to Chinese and you mentally process it and you understand it, that is called comprehensible or understandable input, because it's going in, right? So comprehensible input or acquisition is what HSK 5, 6 students predominantly should preoccupy themselves with. Versus learning. Learning is different. Learning is consciously learning grammar rules. For example, learning how to use a particular grammar rule in a sentence, memorizing a list of words. A lot you guys are trying to memorize the list of HSK 5 words, right? Lesson by lesson and word by word. That is conscious learning. Or completing an HSK 5 mock test is also conscious learning, or writing a long essay and have it corrected. That's also kind of in the space of learning. So we're trying to focus on acquisition instead of learning. I suggest that students spend about 80% on acquisition, or if you're HSK 5 or 6, 80% on acquisition and 20% on learning. So far, our Chinese Zero to Hero online courses have been focusing on learning, right? Following the HSK Standard Course 5 textbook by Jiang Liping. We're going through the grammar points, teaching the vocabulary. This is all learning. But we haven't addressed the part where you need to read Chinese novels, watch Chinese movies, and acquire Chinese, right? So we want to focus more on that space, and we want to give you more tools and methodologies to work in that space. All right, so that's it for this video, and in the next video I will talk about what I call a tree of language learning. And so how does acquisition versus learning fit in the grand scheme of things when you consider learning Chinese from zero to hero, 0 to HSK 6 as a whole. In the next video, I will talk about that. So, so I have some time to take some questions. Do you have any particular questions that you wish to answer? Oh, you're very welcome, Jonathan. Okay, I'll just wait until anyone have a question. If not, I'll end this broadcast and talk to you another day. Okay, no worries. Yeah, I guess next time I'll elaborate more on the difference between language acquisition and language learning, and also how to get sufficient amounts of acquisition. Red Mario says, how about listening Chinese song? How long? Yeah, listening to a Chinese song definitely helps. So anything that gives you comprehensible input will help. How long? Do you mean? Sorry. If I remember correctly, it's important that the material you're using for language acquisition is understandable. It also has to be right at your level. How about watching movies? Yeah, watching movies definitely help. Anything that gives you input helps. Regarding the at the right level, Dr. Stephen Krashen proposes that you need to have language material that's what he calls I+1. I meaning your level, +1 meaning a little bit higher than your level. So you want to get material that's a little bit higher than your level. However, my experience is that it's really difficult to get material that's exactly at your level and that you're interested in. For example, I'm learning Korean right now. I'm trying to test out the method. So I'm trying to pick out Korean material that really interests me. And I'm a 35-year-old adult. If I read these fairy tale books, it doesn't. I mean, some of those fairy tale books are interesting, but I'm not particularly interested in them. I'm very interested in Korean history, Korean politics, these kind of stuff. So I would just read any book. I would just read any book that interests me, regardless of the level. I would just look up words. I mean, it's not that difficult looking up words. If there are way too many words, if I find them really difficult to understand, I'll just skip to the next sentence. No big deal. But I find that I'll just pick up any book that interests me, regardless of the level. However the case, it's really difficult to find the language material at your level. So I'm still kind of looking into that. So what do you guys think? Do you guys find it easy to find Chinese reading material at your level, or Chinese videos at your level? It's pretty hard, right? Let me just take a look at what else people have said. When I watch movies, I do turn on the Chinese subtitles. I mean, like when I watch Korean movies, I'll turn on Korean subtitles and then look up all the words, because otherwise I wouldn't know what they're talking about, right? If they speak with words that I don't know and there are no subtitles, then I'm lost, right? So I would turn Korean subtitles on. So for you guys, I suggest that you guys turn Chinese subtitles on. For example, when I watch Korean dramas on Netflix, I have two windows open. I have one window with Korean subtitles and another window with Chinese subtitles. So I will watch the Korean subtitles and then try to understand. If I don't, I'll go into the Chinese subtitle and try to figure out what it's trying to say as a reference, right? So it takes a long time, but I think that's effective. After watching two dramas in full, looking up all the words, I don't need the Chinese version anymore. I can just rely on the Korean subtitles, and that goes to show you how fast this method actually works. Let me check what else you have said. Please do go on, keep talking. Okay, how long does it take to learn Chinese from basic level to HSK 5? How many words, characters should one study per day? What's recommended? It really depends on your progress. I suggest that you go to our website, Chinese Zero to Hero, and check out our online courses. If I were to study Chinese from zero, let's say I study 4 to 5 hours a day, because I really like learning foreign languages. I can actually put in 4 or 5 hours a day of learning. I don't know whether you guys can, but that's what I do. If I do that, I probably can progress up to HSK 3 in about 4 months, and then 4 in 6 months, and maybe I'll get to 5 in a year. But that's just me, But for you, it all depends on how much you learn per day. So it can take months and even years. What I recommend my students do is that they study one HSK lesson per week. So HSK 1 would have 15 lessons, HSK 2 15 lessons, 3 would have 20 lessons. So typically students will get through HSK 3 within the first year, and then HSK 4 the next year, and then 5 and 6 and beyond. So yeah, it's difficult to say exactly how long it will take. So it can take from 1 year to 4 years, depending on your speed. Let me see. Wow, lots of questions. What would be considered interesting content in order to speak with Chinese people and keep the conversation going, build friendship? I would say everything, because you need to talk about everything. You can't just limit yourself to one subject, because different conversation subjects come up. Let's say if I'm trying to learn English, if I ask you, so what topic should I study so that I can engage in conversation? I mean, come on, I need to know everything. I basically need to rebuild my knowledge of the world again with a new language. I need to be able to say everything in Chinese. So instead of focusing on, okay, what should I learn to keep conversations going, it's probably better for you to just learn something that interests you. Study a topic that really interests you and engages you, so you can be absorbed in it and get massive amounts of comprehensible input. For example, if I'm learning Korean history right now, studying Korean history in Korean, and these books don't just have vocabulary related to Korean history; they also have vocabulary related to many things as everyday life, right? So because books are that way, when you read a book, you don't just come across one set of vocabulary; you come across a great range of vocabulary. Let's see, what third interesting content in order to speak with Chinese? Okay, it's difficult. Yeah, my problem is finding a method to study all the words and characters. I have too many flashcards. Is there an easy way? There are no easy ways. I would suggest that you just keep reading books, and as you come across new words, you just make a note of it, make a mental note of it. For example, when I read Korean books right now, I don't underline the words that I don't know anymore, simply because I just know that these words will come up again. There's no point underlining every word that I don't know. Instead, I will underline main points in the book. I'll study the Korean books in the same way that I study English books or Chinese books. I look up words, but once I understand the word, I'll just move on. I'll only highlight important points, or maybe I'll circle names or keywords. And then when I review the book, I'll review the key points instead of just the words. But very surprisingly, I've gathered significant amount of vocabulary just by reading alone. I never created a vocabulary list, I never did flashcards, never did any review. I just kind of kept reading and reading and reading because I'm so interested in it. And after a while, the same words will repeat. Korean has a huge amount of vocabulary compared to other languages. So words do not tend to repeat. But still, if you read a lot, if you just throw hours and hours a day reading, you are bound to come across the same words. And yeah, so I would suggest not worry too much about vocabulary and just focus on spending lots of time on reading and looking at words, and eventually the same words will come across again, and you will be familiar with them. Yeah, that's my 10 cents. Let's see, when you teach, okay, wow, now there are a lot of questions. What book am I reading now? I can actually show you. My bag is over here, sorry. Sorry. So this is an example. This is a Korean book that I bought in Korea. I went to Busan and went to a bookstore, and this is a book about Korean history. It's called 서민석의 무도 한국사 특강. It's like a Korean history lecture for the layman, right? It's not for university history students, it's for the public. So I find it quite conversational and easy to read. For example, this is a history. This chapter is about Korean democratization movement and how they got rid of their dictators, South Korea, which is really interesting. Lots of assassinations and plots. So let me just show you. This is how I study. I just underline the important points and keywords. I don't underline every word that I don't know. So that's what I do. So as you can see, I've I've gone through a lot of text. This is a very, very thick book. Gone through a lot of text, and this is not the only book I read. I read many other books as well. So it does take a lot of reading. So it wouldn't work if you just read a little bit. Let's see, how long does it take? Consider difficult problem is fine. So there was a study that showed that the best for language acquisition if you watch the film yeah, if you watch Chinese movies with Chinese subtitles, that helps a lot. When you studied English, how much time did you spend on flashcards? I did not spend much time on flashcards. In fact, I try to go through these vocabulary lists that these study companies put together, but I never got past abdicate. You know how in dictionary it goes like A, B, A, B, and AC. Right? I never got through abdicate. So that goes to show you how much I did vocabulary memorization. But I do live in Canada. I've lived here for almost 20 years, so I mean, I've forgotten how I learned English. That's why I'm learning Korean. Because if I can remember how I learned English, I wouldn't need to do this. But to recover my learning method, to actually remember how I learn learn English to this level, I'm trying to do the same with Korean, so then my experience is fresh, and then I can advise you guys. One very effective method is to write down what you can hear. Yeah, okay, you can try that. See, I'd like to congratulate you for your initiative and English speaking fluency. It will make it easier to learn Mandarin with you, dear teacher. Okay, thank you very much. Let me see if you have any questions. When will you finish the Way to Fluency course? We plan to release it mid-July to August. Sorry it's gonna take so long because it takes a while for my Korean to be fluent, and it will take a lot of research and gather a lot of feedback from you guys, so that when I release the course, it will be very solid. It will be based on solid research and not just some whim that I come up. Right? I want the course to be really helpful and not just some random advice course. Next level, I think 70%. When do you think it's the right time to start learning the vocabulary for the next HSK level? I know 70%. Here's the thing, I don't think it's ever advisable just to learn vocabulary, right? A lot of people say, oh, I'm learning HSK 3 words, I'm learning HSK 4 words, but I mean, like, I think language should be studied as a whole. That's why we have the Chinese Zero to Hero online course. We teach you vocabulary, grammar, and they give you exercises, and it also asks you to buy the textbook that the course studies with. So we try and integrate everything into one system. And if you just learn vocabulary, I don't know. I really doubt that it will work. I really doubt that. Yeah. Anyways, I think my time is up, and thank you very much. And in another broadcast, I will talk about what I call the tree of language learning, the grand scheme of things of learning Chinese, and how language acquisition versus learning fit in the grand scheme of things. And the next talk will be called the tree. Okay, what is a tree? Okay, I'll explain next time. Okay, take care. Bye now. Bye. All right, so how do I stop this?